While Hurricane Michael pummeled the southeastern United States, the president kept dry farther north, where he held his second of 4 rallies this week. The president spoke in Erie, Pennsylvania, after his campaign stop for multiple Republicans ahead of the midterms. He then attended a fundraiser in the state. In another corner of the U.S., we're getting a look at the aftermath of Hurricane Michael. This is Mexico Beach, Florida. The president explained his reasoning for going to Pennsylvania despite the dangerous storm impacting many Americans. In a tweet Wednesday, he said he didn't want to disappoint the thousands of people attending. But he might face some scrutiny for his decisions, much like the criticism he gave President Barack Obama during the 2012 election after Hurricane Sandy. Back then, he tweeted about how President Obama campaigned, quote, while Hurricane Sandy victims across New York and New Jersey are still decimated by Sandy. Dave Lawler joins me now from Washington. He's the world news editor of Axios. Dave, thank you so much. What is your take on the president holding a rally in the middle of a devastating storm like this?
This is not a visual that many politicians would opt for. It's obviously a very political event at a time when he could be showing himself perhaps to be above politics and worrying about the situation there. I think it's more of an optics issue that, he'll say his team is in place to respond to this storm, and he tends to think that if you get him up in front of a crowd, good things happen. So he has a different political calculus there than other politicians do.
What about Florida Governor Rick Scott? He has been very visible over the last few days in the run-up to the storm making landfall. He is running for the U.S. Senate this November. What are your thoughts on his various appearances ahead of this storm as it was approaching the state of Florida?
Right, so 2 of the most closely watched races in the country right now are happening in Florida. You've got Rick Scott, who's the governor of Florida. He's been on TV almost constantly the last few days getting the word out about this hurricane and what people need to do to prepare for it. And then you've got the race to replace Rick Scott as governor. And Andrew Gillum, who's the mayor of Tallahassee, which is in the path of this storm, has also been on TV quite a bit, talking about his plans to respond to the storm. So you've got, a Republican in one race on TV, you've got a Democrat in the other race on TV. This is an opportunity for both of them to show leadership, to show strength, and we're only a few weeks away now from races that look like toss-ups.
Right, and it's sort of inextricably linked, whatever we see here with these politicians and this natural disaster approaching. Well, the president has attacked Democrats' plans for health care. He did this Wednesday in a rare op-ed for USA Today. He goes on to plead with voters to cast their ballots for Republicans, saying, quote, if Democrats win control of Congress this November, we will come dangerously closer to socialism in America. How typical is that rhetoric from a president just weeks away from the midterms?
One thing to note about this op-ed is that it really doesn't stand up to scrutiny from a factual standpoint. There's all sorts of fact checks available right now. I think the Washington Post said that nearly every paragraph contained false or misleading information. So the facts on the Democrats' plans for health care are not, up to snuff. What's interesting, though, is that health care, when you look at the ads across all the midterm races in America right now, health care is the #1 issue that people are talking about in their ads. Voters care about it. Republicans are on the defensive a little bit. They might think this is a better issue for Democrats. And President Trump is clearly seeing that and getting his message out in what you're right. It is a rare thing for him to write an op-ed.
Well, so the president is holding multiple rallies this week. On Tuesday, he was in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Let's listen to some of what he said.
A vote for us is a vote for lower taxes, less regulation, and more products that are made right here in the USA. That's what we're doing. And together, we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
All right, so the president's message there seems to be pretty clear that if you vote for Republicans, they will help me in Washington. Do we have any sense of how effective that particular strategy might be?
It varies quite a bit race to race, right? If you're one of these Republicans who's running in a pro-Trump district but facing a tough challenge, and there's lots of them across the country, Trump coming into town, boosting turnout, trying to close that enthusiasm gap with Democrats is a good thing. Then again, Trump's not the most popular president in the world. I think his approval ratings are at 43% right now. So if you're running in a district that's really a toss-up, half Republican, half Democrat, you might want to make this race more about the issues that you think are good for you, the economy, about taxes, the tax cuts. You might not want President Trump coming to town and making this all about him and injecting even more, controversy into things.
Well, so let me ask you about Eric Holder, who said this on Wednesday, quote, "When they go low, we kick them," which was, of course, a play on Michelle Obama's now famous quote, "When they go low, we go high." This was fascinating to me, Dave, because you have the former United States Attorney General, somebody who was the top law enforcement officer of the United States of America, saying this. What are your thoughts about Eric Holder sort of taking this approach ahead of November, and what do you think other Democrats feel about that particular tactic?
Right, so when I saw this quote pop up in my Twitter feed, I actually had to go and find the clip because I was so shocked by the quote that I wanted to make sure that people were getting it right. They were getting it right. Eric Holder did say this. This comes after Hillary Clinton said that the time for civility is over. We have to win back the majorities and fight, and then there can be time for civility. So these aren't people who are coming from the outside and saying the establishment's doing it wrong and we need to fight tough. This is the establishment, right? Who's saying these things. It's pretty incredible. I guess it shows that people think the moral high ground is only worth so much. They're tired of losing. This is kind of the Michael Avenatti school of Democratic politics, right? He's been sniping from the fringes and saying we need to fight fire with fire. It'll be interesting to see if the people who are actually on the ballot take up that message, because if so, it's going to be an even uglier political cycle than what we've seen so far.
Right, because what else are we seeing from Democrats who are trying to obviously fire up their base, as we've seen Republicans trying to fire up their side?
It varies. I mean, you have Democrats out there who are saying this isn't about Trump. We ran strictly against Trump last time and we lost. We need to make this about us, what we stand for. And that's a different message than what you're seeing from people. There's also just so much anger in the base. People are furious about what's happening in the country and what the president is doing. So people are responding to that as well. So I think it's going to be a test for people, particularly looking ahead to 2020. Are you going to be one of these people who runs angry, or are you going to be one of these people who runs with ideas? Not that those are mutually exclusive, but I think it is a choice that Democrats are going to have to make.
Let's turn to another issue here. Nikki Haley resigned Tuesday as ambassador to the UN, or rather she announced her plans to resign. She's not actually leaving till the end of the year, but you've written about her departure. What does that mean for President Trump's foreign policy?
Well, first of all, he's got to find a replacement. And my colleagues at Axios are reporting that Dina Powell, she was the Deputy National Security Advisor. She left the administration. She appears to be the front runner if she wants the job. But also, Nikki Haley is an interesting case, right? Because she's one of the few people who served in this administration and came out with sort of her star burning brighter than when she came into the administration. She's somebody with national ambitions. And so obviously the part of what people in Trump world wanted to do was tamp down the idea that she was going to be challenging President Trump. She did that herself. She said, I'm not going to be on the ballot at any level in 2020. I'm going to support the president.
Really fascinating to see what she will do next. Dave Lawler, thank you so much, Dave, for your time.
Thank you.